We're gonna have a meeting before Halloween. Okay. Do you know what our hours are gonna be for the candy? Okay. It's gonna be very important village business. When is Halloween and when it's absolutely serious business.
Yeah, good.
I get to Mexico
But
on
everything's on the
Thursday
website
morning,
too.
so I'll use that. It's a work trip. We'll have plenty of time to goof off. So beat up Mexico. Just 4 days.
Extend yourself.
Yeah.
I'll bet, although they've got that tropical storm right now. So who knows if it'll.
Is it the East Coast?
It's Cancun area, so I don't know what's getting worse down there, but they're not. So we'll see.
Calm down. You're supposed to smile and be a family man. Oh.
I'm glad they're having the storm now instead of stuff usually goes in a couple days.
Oh. I was gonna say, yeah, man, you've had more than I have. Yeah. Hey, Brian, all those people out there because of your traffic thing. So you're gonna tell them we're not doing anything? And then you say, Happy Halloween, the hours are from. That's it. Oh, is that what? Hey, Ken, what's that for? I've seen those.
I've been to a trade show.
Oh, that's right.
That is a trade show.
For any of the. Check that out. Oh, I see.
Yeah, pretty sure.
Get started.
Yeah.
If anybody wants to speak tonight, sign up is here. So we've got 4 people. Okay, very good. We'll go ahead and now begin our meeting. So welcome to the village regular scheduled village board meeting on October 10th. I'd ask the clerk to please take the roll call.
Trustee Bachner,
Here.
Trustee Gillis,
Here.
Trustee Vasquez,
Here.
Trustee Brennan,
Here.
Trustee Johnson,
Here.
Trustee O'Connell,
Here.
President Aducey.
Here. Okay, I'd like to ask you to stand to say the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks. All right, we have citizens' comments, but I think most of it is with the traffic, so if you all will get through the rest of the agenda pretty quick, and then I'll call on your comments at the time we get to that, the new business, which is the, I'm sorry, the recommendations of the committee, if that's okay. So just give us a couple minutes to get through the rest of the agenda, and then I'll ask you to come up and speak on behalf of the agenda item. So with that, I'll move on to item 4, which is the elected officials' comments and announcements. think I started with you, Bob, last time. I can't remember. We'll start with you again. You just seem to be a good person to start with.
Okay, thank you. Good evening. A couple of comments. First of all, I'd like to wish everyone a happy Columbus and Indigenous Peoples Day. And also, I'd like to remind people about the open house at the firehouse on Saturday. I was so excited about it, I showed up this Saturday. So,
all right.
So they were cleaning up firehouse, Chief. So everything was under control. But I want to remind everybody it's a great community activity, and it's a good thing to bring the kids out to. So look forward to that on Saturday. Other than that, that's all I've got for tonight. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Bob.
I also want to wish everyone happy holidays today and going forward, because this is the beginning of a lot. So wish you very much happy holidays. I did have over the last week, I had the opportunity to attend the Illinois Chamber of Commerce Business Luncheon.
Oh, yeah. Good.
And the focus was on energy and sustainability, and about a lot of the companies that are desirous of coming into municipalities, but they are looking into seeing what your sustainability practices are, as well as your how you are focusing on the energy in the future. And so I thought our organization or our village fits right in, and I was
Great.
very happy to hear that and speak proudly of it.
Great. Thanks, Ken, for
That's all.
attending. Great. Thank you. Katie?
Yep. Hi, everyone. I drove by the Lake and Lathrop on the way here tonight, and I saw that the sidewalk seems to be open, which is great news. It's probably making a lot of residents happy. And did the village do that, or did the developer clean it up?
Yeah, the village affected the work and charged the developer.
Got it. All right. Well, I'm sure that the residents are very happy. So that's a step in the right direction. And then I also wanted to ask, the developer was asked to provide a schedule of their work per our agreement. And I think as of last meeting or the last time we asked, we hadn't received one, but I haven't checked the website that shows the status. So can you let us know what that
Yep,
that
they
stands?
have until October 14th
To give us a
to
schedule?
give us the schedule. Yep.
So today's the 10th.
Yes.
Yep. All right. And then also the final question on Lake and Lathrop. We had invited them to our board meeting last time. They had not chosen to attend, and I didn't know where that stands. Are we going to continue? I'm hoping that we continue to invite them, or we extended an open invitation. I think it would be nice for our residents and for the board to be able to, hear their input, and for them to be able to hear questions and input from both residents and the board.
Yeah. The invitation stands that they're welcome to attend. I did some additional research after the last meeting, and under the terms of the RDA, I can't force them to attend a meeting, but the invitation stands open for them.
Yep. Okay. Thank you. Other than that, I attended the Trinity High School ribbon cutting, as did Lisa and Rez. It was a beautiful day. I think we actually got a little sunburn.
Actually, yes.
Yeah. So, and it was just a lovely presentation, short and sweet, and had a tour as well. And then this weekend I attended the Maywood Fine Arts Pumpkin Patch Parade, which also had a beautiful sunny day, and it was very nice that the Bonnie Brae Lemonade block donated a check over $44,000 to
great.
Maywood Fine Arts, one of their chosen charities this year.
That's great.
That's all I have.
Wow. Is that the biggest one?
No, so in recent years, Lemonade has chosen more than one charity.
Right.
In past earlier on, I think they've actually raised more for one charity.
Right.
So
But combined?
I don't know what the
Oh,
amount
you
is for Kindness Creators yet. That check has not been revealed yet.
Okay. Well, that's awesome, given the day that it was,
Yes, it was a sort of an rainy day.
Very good.
People showed up, and there were some matching grants. So.
Oh, that's awesome. Great. Good news. Okay, John, anything?
Nothing to add, thanks.
Okay.
All right, good evening, everyone. Just again, also happy Columbus Day, Indigenous Day. Just acknowledging as well that Trinity's ribbon cutting ceremony was terrific, and actually they did a nice job with the addition they put in. Just another reminder, I know the household hazardous due date to make the reservation was today at 5, so hopefully people took advantage of it. But for those of you who have the electronic waste, you still have till October the 12th at 5 p.m. to make the reservation for arrangements to pick up any electronic waste equipment. Last but not least, I'm not sure we're going to have another meeting before Halloween, so happy Halloween to everyone, and be safe with any candies, and I'm sure the village will send
Yeah,
out
we
some type of
October
notice on
24th.
our hours.
We will have October 24th.
Oh, we will. Okay. Okay, so I'll just
Hang on to
repeat
that
that
thought.
again. Okay. All right. Other than that, thanks. That's it.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Lisa?
Okay. Let me see. On October 1st, I did bike the tour of Proviso. It was really a lot of fun. And then I supported Matt, who did a great job at the booth. And we had a lot of resident interaction from, all the different communities that participated. So it was great to meet everybody. The Trinity Edition ribbon cutting, amazing thing for that school. I can't say enough about it. And we tried to represent the village well.
I know.
Kathy, in your absence. So
Well, thank you. You guys did awesome.
we
sounds like.
we did our best.
Yeah.
I was interviewed by Can TV for Elevate, discussing the C4 initiative. So it'll be interesting how that goes. It was Zoom interviews, never done anything like that before, but it was really a great experience. So more on that. And last but not least, the Village of River Forest is now officially Soul Smart Silver. So a big thank you to the River Forest Sustainability Commission and the village staff who worked to achieve this certification. That this certification basically signifies that as a village we support, kind of solar power for residents and businesses, and we're trying to make it easier for our residents and businesses to, put solar on their house or on their business, etc. So,
Yeah, great.
yay!
Yay.
I'm sure there'll be some sort of ceremony in the future where we get the plaque and we'll put it up.
Sure.
Kathy, I forgot one point. I wanted to thank, I think Elijah's last day is this week. Is it tomorrow? Okay. I just want to acknowledge Elijah. I know he worked on a number of commissions. He worked on mine, Age Friendly, and I just wanted to wish him the best. He did a great job. He's going to now turn the bat over to Matthew Walsh to help me at least. I'm not sure. I know Elijah also worked on DEI, so I'm sure maybe Erica will say a few words. But Elijah, thank you very much for.
I sure am.
Yes, exactly. So Elijah, wish you well, and don't forget to keep in touch.
Yeah.
Okay.
On
Sorry.
the Christmas card. No,
Yes.
great. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Hi, everyone. So I'd like to begin with a land acknowledgement. As we begin today, we are mindful that we hold these meetings on land that was once and still inhabited by Indigenous people, including the Ojibwa, the Chippewa, the Menominee, Potawatomi nations, and more. We will remember our nation's history and honor the Native people as stewards of this land that was colonized, and that River Forest continues to be a place many people from diverse backgrounds live and gather. Happy Indigenous Peoples Day to everyone. I was fortunate enough to be able to watch from Schiller Park this weekend a powwow. It's one of the larger powwows in Illinois that happens every year. It was the 69th one, and members from all nations were able to come and share their culture and their regalia, and they had contests for footwork and dancing. They invited folks from Puerto Rico as a cross-cultural exchange. So they had Puerto Rican dancers there.
Wow.
They had the Manoi. I think I'm missing that. But Indigenous folks from New Zealand who participated and represented their nation as well. They had folks from the Western United States, the Apache, who had not come to this event before, and it was really wonderful to just see the difference and be able to hear the different history and why why and how they celebrate in that powwow. So it was extraordinary, and they do it every year. And I encourage everyone else to attend if you're able. I think that is it, except for Elijah. I'm so sorry to see you go. Your contributions to the DEI group are insurmountable. Your everything that you've done for us, it will live on for a long time in that group and the work that we do here at the table. So thank you very much for everything.
Great, thank you. Yeah, I'll be very short. First of all, happy Indigenous Day as well as Columbus Day. Although in the state of Illinois, the official Indigenous Day is September 30th. The state legislature passed that several years ago, so that it had its real own holiday. So, unfortunately, I didn't wear red today in honor of Columbus. But anyway, I want to thank all those that participated in the many events that were around the community, like Trinity and Pumpkin Patch and the Proviso Bike Ride. I missed them all because I was on a 10-day vacation, so I don't have much to report other than thanks to all of you for being part of all of these events. They're so important to our communities, so thank you so much, because I know it's a lot to ask for, but it's nice when and I think they appreciate when we all show up as well. So thank you. And Elijah, we will miss you dearly, but understand and appreciate all the work that you did for us here in River Forest, and good luck in your next job and role. I'm sure you're going to go places. So, okay, with that, I will move on to the consent agenda, items A through F. If I can get a motion, please, in a second.
I move to approve the consent agendas items A through F.
Second.
Okay. Any questions or comments on these items? Hearing none, I'd ask the clerk to please read out loud the each item and then take the vote.
Consent agenda item A, Village Board of Trustee meeting minutes, September 26, 2022. B, Village Board of Trustee executive meeting minutes, September 26, 2022. C, a right-of-way encroachment waiver, an agreement for an irrigation system in the public right-of-way with the property owners at 1431 Bonnie Bray Place. D, accounts payable September 2022, $1,580,544.32. E, monthly department reports, September 2022. F, village administrators report. Trustee Gillis,
Yes.
Trustee Vasquez,
Yes.
Trustee Brennan,
Yes.
Trustee Johnson,
Yes.
Trustee O'Connell,
Yes.
Trustee Bachner.
Yes.
Okay. Great. So we'll move on now to the next item, which is 7, which is the recommendations of boards, commissions, and committees. And this is where your public comment comes in. So we will start with Robert. Bob, do you want to start the public comment?
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Are we going to get a presentation from the staff on this?
Yes.
Yes.
Does it make sense to have the staff present first before hearing the
Well, we normally have public comment happen before.
I would like the staff to go first.
Okay, Bob, this is the way it works. We have the comments, and then the staff, we'll take any other additional
Okay,
comments
but a
from.
guy's got to ask. My name is Robert Armalis. I'm from 1501 Bonnie Bray. I'm representative of the Residents Collective Traffic Experience in the northeast corner. It is our hope we can arrive at a plan of action resolving our issue tonight. Will KLOA be giving up? Will the consultant be giving up?
No, it will be Jeff.
Okay, so we'll skip that part. We've gone through, I think, 5 meetings now. And there's been a study. It was taken over a small sampling during the peak of Omicron around a county holiday. I think it's inferred it was done on a scientific basis. And it's also inferred that we don't have a problem. And I think we do have a problem, and I think you've all received letters from residents, comments. There's people here tonight going to tell you we got a problem. We don't like it. The study showed 500 cars plus a day on 20 house streets. It's a lot. It's a problem. Nobody's speeding on Greenfield. I think you know people speed on Greenfield. I've sent some videos today to trustees showing cars passing each other on Lemoyne, double passing, showing pictures of 80,000 pound, actually 90,000 pound trucks on Lemoyne, and not just one. It's every day. Our study showed that both Greenfield and Lemoyne have a car a minute over a 24-hour period. Given that night's pretty quiet, that's well over a car. That's less than a car. It's like 20 seconds every car, every 20 seconds during waking hours. It's terrible. We have short setbacks in this area. Those cars are in our living room. We're going to be told, or we might be told, that possibly parking shuffle, police-dependent signage, hundreds of thousands of dollars of bump outs on a bicycle route. It's like oil and vinegar. Or an increase in the speed and volume of North Avenue will solve our problems. I don't think that's in anybody's interest.
No.
I'm asking you to reject that. This issue, like science, is not just about numbers. It's about aggressive cut-through driver behavior, resident safety, and community quality of life. In that light, our traffic commissioners offered a well-intentioned but incomplete solution that will potentially make things worse. It is also incomplete in the sense that a little be done now, then somehow we're going to do further study, then somehow we're going to do some more, get some more data. Look, we're living with this now. We're 35 years behind our neighbors in implementing mitigation. 35 years. It's not going to get better. It's going to get worse, especially when the I-290 rebuild goes in, and North Avenue will be touted in the press as a alternate route. We need comprehensive solutions that addresses the issue from Greenfield at Thatcher to Harlem and Greenfield and north of there.
Okay.
Every street. A complete solution looks like this. Both Greenfield and Lemoyne need traffic restriction equally applied in some form and preferably in concrete. Explore and implement North Avenue restrictions, including consideration that there are existing north-south cut-through issues on Williams, Monroe, and Jackson. Address athletic field event parking on Greenfield. Implement strong truck restriction and ordinances. Place stop signs where they're needed, not because there's one sign every 2 block rule. Pedestrians and children rely on those. Implement complete street solutions. Bump outs are not complete street solutions, by the way. I'm asking for the board for aggressive structural traffic mitigation, like our neighboring communities have been continually implementing, that we create a plan tonight to deal with the issue comprehensively and hire professionals to design and implement mitigation addressing the residents' needs, not what the professionals want, what we want. Please do that tonight. And
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Bob. I appreciate it. Chris Schwartz, I just want to remind the citizen comments that we try to stay within 5 minutes, but, just so everyone has time to talk. But
This should be short.
Okay.
I didn't come very prepared with
No,
with
we
anything.
want to
Chris
hear
Schwartz,
from everyone.
I think. 1500 block of William Street. I've got young kids. We got a few people on our blocks that are here that have a lot of concerns. People coming off of North Avenue, cutting through. There's waves. There's other, ways to cut through traffic. And I know there's discussions about stop signs. We have not seen anything. I work from home. I hear lots of brakes and honking because people are not abiding by any by any stop signs. So that's a huge concern. And, our kids, I don't trust them going across the street by themselves, just because, yes, there are stop signs, but people are not abiding by those. So I think we need to find some restrictions about traffic coming from North Harlem, because it's just, it's just a scary situation for kids right now. Mm-hmm. And it would be ideal to have blocking traffic coming from North Avenue to William Street, because it's a straight way, as you know, to the park. There's a lot of kids going to Fenwick and other events that it's highly trafficked area, Concordia as well. So I'm here to kind of push against bringing some sort of a solution so that traffic is slows down to stop. I don't think stop signs is going to provide any assistance to what's going on right now. Maybe speed bumps, but blocking traffic would be the best alternative, just because we've got kids with 2-year-old kids and they're kind of scared to have them walk outside by themselves.
Sure.
Not by themselves, but with with their parents. But
that too.
People are flying by, not abiding by the stop signs, speeds, restrictions. So I'm here to kind of voice my concerns about blocking traffic.
Thanks, Chris. Yeah, and please stay for the presentation that Jeff will, because I think you'll glean a few things there too. Ty? Welcome.
Ty Herringody, 1500 block of William. Not quite sure what I can add that my neighbor Chris has already said. Traffic seems to be getting worse. Speed seems to be getting worse. It's off-putting when my wife and I are walking to the park that we have to be on such heightened sense of crossing the street with as much speed as we've seen lately with the higher traffic. But aside from that, just want to be here in support of this, and I think my neighbor put it perfectly. So I'll be concise.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Thanks, Ty. Gary?
My name's Gary Kagan. I live on Greenfield between Bonnie Bray and William. I've lived there since 2005. I have observed regularly people speeding on Greenfield. I would say that especially during rush hour, both east and west, the sun going east when you're driving east in the morning is blinding, and the same on when you're driving west at close of business. My biggest concern is the left-hand turn from Greenfield onto Harlem, and then the opposite of Oak Park, making the left turn going south on Harlem from Greenfield. I've seen a number of accidents there, and I would urge the council and the commission to revisit that issue. Thank you.
All right. All right, thanks, Gary. So that ends the citizens' comment. So before we go into Jeff, I want to make sure we get a motion on the table in a second so we can open it up. So there's four motions. Can we throw them all together?
Okay.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay. So if
All
I
right.
can get thank you.
Okay. You want me? Okay. Now that you challenged me with four motions. Okay. Move to approve the ordinances restricting traffic on Lemoyne Street to one-way eastbound between Bonnie Bray and Harlem Avenue to install the right-out only curb diverter and install all accompanying signage as proposed, and to move to install a cul-de-sac on Bonnie Bray at the south edge of the east-west alley just south of North Avenue and install the accompanying sign as proposed, and move to install a partial cul-de-sac on the west half of Clinton Place at the south edge of the east and west alley just south of North Avenue and install the accompanying signage as proposed, and to move to approve an ordinance to convert the two-way stop at the intersection of William Street and Lemoyne Street and the one-way stop at Clinton Place and Greenfield Street to all-way stop intersections and modify the all-way stop at Clinton Place and Lemoyne Street such that only the north-south legs of the intersection are required to stop.
Thank you.
Second.
Okay. All right. So now Jeff is going to present what all these four motions look like on a graph, hopefully.
Good evening, and I'll walk you through kind of a brief history of the Traffic and Safety Commission discussions as well, just so we're all on the same page. As you're all aware, the village has completed a traffic study in the northeast corner of town. The area is bound by North Avenue, Harlem, Greenfield, and Lathrop. The village contracted with KLOA, a firm you're all familiar with at this point, to perform the study earlier this year. The impetus for this study was to review the situation up there within the context of cut-through traffic. So we had started to hear some anecdotal evidence that there was an increase in cut-through traffic, and so we entered into this study. The Traffic and Safety Commission discussed the findings and the results of the study at a July 26th and a September 21st meeting earlier this year. At the July 26th meeting, there were a handful of residents that indicated that the data that was collected was not indicative of what they see in the area on a regular basis. So as part of that public discussion, and the commissioners that were present somewhat agreed that they wanted KLOA to come back to the commission for a future meeting, the September meeting, with some more substantial traffic modification plans. The initial recommendations that they made were much lighter in nature based on the data that they had collected. So there was a discrepancy between the data that was collected and the recommended improvements versus what the residents were seeing on a regular basis. So at the September 21st meeting, KLOA came back with more substantial improvements, recommended improvements, and they involve some speed humps and some basically horizontal and vertical curb deflections. Speed humps, and curb bump outs like you would see along Chicago, Lake Street, Madison, things like that. So we discussed this again at the September 21st meeting with these additional improvement recommendations, and the residents that were present, still felt that these measures did not go far enough in addressing their concerns. So the commission, again, somewhat agreeing with the residents, elected to go further than what the study had recommended by implementing the measures that are here before you this evening. The approach that this Traffic and Safety Commission typically takes is one of an iterative approach. If we can do things in a measured manner, they like to see the results of that before diving in. So though they made these recommendations for approval that are before you this evening, they also recommended them on a temporary basis. What that allows us as a staff to do is implement them on a much more immediate basis. We can go out and buy these barriers and get things implemented on a much shorter time frame than we would if we're contracting with a consultant for design and having to budget accordingly, which we'll ultimately have to do for permanent installation. But by doing these on a temporary basis, we can roll them out much quicker. It also gives us as an entity some time for soliciting feedback from residents, because though we have heard from several residents that feel that these measures plus more are what's needed up there, there may be others that disagree and don't want to have certain streets blocked off completely. So the commission felt that the approach that they recommended was the optimal one for moving forward here with these improvements. Obviously, we can make additional improvements at additional locations at any point in time, as you see fit. But this is what the commission ultimately recommended to you. So with that, I'm happy to walk you through each of the recommendation locations, if you will, or answer
Jeff,
any questions.
before you go into that, I'm just you might want to also remind the trustees as well as the residents that are here that are what we're doing on a River Forest wide basis.
Sure.
Yeah.
So we are working with a different consultant we're currently negotiating scope and budget for a village-wide traffic study, similar to what we've done up here, but obviously village-wide. There's some other elements that the Traffic and Safety Commission has asked for in terms of creating a toolbox for them, if you will, where as future requests come up at particular intersections or on particular blocks, they have a bit of a rubric to work through themselves that will kind of lead them to an optimal solution. So that is part of an effort that will likely be on the agenda at one of the next immediate board meetings here for you to consider.
And I'll get you to a question. The reason I asked that is to address, I think, Chris and Ty's comments to the board regarding William Street and Monroe Street. It's not that those streets aren't important. It's just it's though we're taking sections right now of where we think the biggest issue is what I'm hearing from the traffic and safety, and then from there that will feed into the larger plan that you're working on.
And
that's the intent.
And William and Monroe are certainly within this area. They're not as close to Harlem, so the perceived issue seems to be related to the congestion associated with North and Harlem and the traffic that backs up along North Avenue, and then you get people bailing out down, heading south into the village just to avoid the congestion. So the commission kind of felt like working their way west from Harlem was kind of the approach to take, just because that seemed to be where the bulk of the traffic was. That's not to say that though William and Monroe aren't addressed in here, that was something it seemed that the Traffic and Safety Commission considered. But again, as part of an iterative approach, they didn't feel that hitting all 5 or whatever from Bonnie to Jackson at that point, they didn't feel that implementing something at each location was necessary at this moment in time. And again, as part of our village study, that's not to say we can't go get additional traffic counts on William and Monroe after we implement these measures as part of the village-wide traffic study. We could always kind of pull some of this area into the village-wide study as well once these measures are implemented, because that might very well change some traffic patterns.
So why don't we go through unless you
Sure.
We got a question.
Because my understanding is, and maybe I am totally wrong, is that, I mean, again, they worked until after 10 o'clock at the last meeting, correct?
Correct.
And that they didn't get to cover they didn't have all the conversations they needed to have, and that won't this now be continued at the next meeting?
Yeah, that wasn't my understanding. I don't believe that they were necessarily tabling anything. I think the approach that they took was, we're happy to take up any additional intersections, locations that residents are requesting of us. But I didn't necessarily walk away with the understanding that we're going to then go address this street, that street, and the other one at our next meeting. And I could certainly circle back with the commission to verify as much.
It sounded like through comments that I had heard that the full scope of Greenfield maybe had not been discussed, which is
That's correct.
Correct.
That's correct.
So, yeah, I mean, well, that's a consideration in our discussion for sure. Why don't we go through the 4 recommendations, and then we'll circle back on
Sure.
what's missing.
So recommendation number 1 is Lemoyne and Harlem, essentially. Do you have these, Matt? Oh, perfect. Thank you. So as you can see, that kind of shaded area between Harlem and that first alley west of Harlem, that would all become one way heading eastbound. And we're essentially cutting off all traffic coming into the village onto Lemoyne there. So eastbound can only head southbound. This is similar to what we currently have at Quick in Harlem, as well as Forest and North Avenue. And again, those barricades that I show up in the top left corner would be what staff is kind of considering on this temporary basis, just to implement something on a quick time frame to get out there as physical measures to achieving this.
Can I ask a question about that? So others may have questions as well. There was a no right turn sign on that. Was
No
that
right
meant to be-
turn. Sorry, so that was confusing, and I debated that. It's no right turn for southbound traffic.
So if we get to the.
So it's confusing because it's upside down based on the orientation of the page.
All right, so here's the
Okay.
first recommendation.
So, is this a good time for a question?
Yeah.
Yeah.
On the record.
So to tag on to where Eric is right now, what is the impact? Where do we think the traffic's being generated? So, for example, if I'm going southbound on Harlem and I live on the corner of Lemoyne and Bonnie Bray, I now need to go all the way down to Division, over to William, up to Lemoyne, and then back to my house. What is there? Do we feel like adding a right in, right out only there?
Here on
Right, yeah,
Lemoyne?
right. Yes. Yeah.
So I think that's what that kind of shows right now,
Yeah,
Bob.
that's
I
what-
actually live on that corner, and so I've been doing what you are talking about for the past couple of weeks, and it's lovely. I don't mind it at all. Yeah.
Okay, so but I mean,
Yeah.
one of the reasons we're doing this on a temporary basis is to get
Yeah,
feedback from
exactly.
residents.
And I
Right.
have heard feedback from other neighbors of mine who are hesitant to put that, have that be cut off completely. But what they say is safety over anything. And the truth of the matter is, as everyone is saying, is that these cars are constantly coming and speeding off. The cars are constantly turning left. Cars are coming from Oak Park because Google tells them to go from Lemoyne on Oak Park to Lemoyne on Harlem. So I think the neighborhood wants it to be safe and wants the best possible outcome.
Okay, I have a question. Is the one way only that yellow shaded area then?
Yes.
Okay, number one.
You can't come this way.
Okay, and I guess
Off Harlem.
I just heard one of the residents say that it's busy going east in certain parts and the rush hour part of the day portion, right? Either in the morning or
Well, that's
or
what
the
Gary-
afternoon.
So if
Right.
you go down to Greenfield, he's down
Okay.
Greenfield.
Oh, I
Yeah.
thought it was also Lemoyne. I think.
Well,
okay.
it's all time. Yeah, I
It's
mean,
all-
yeah, you.
Okay.
That's the issue that Bob brought up too.
Okay.
I mean, you could cut both of those off.
Yeah. But
That's the other
Yeah.
alternative, right? But you can't get out. You can't get in.
get in, right?
And so I've been driving
Yeah.
the route that Bob was, and it's perfectly fine.
If you can't get in and out.
Yeah.
So
I've been
gotten-
acting
I've gotten other feedback. So, but
Yeah.
you live there, so I'm not gonna.
Yeah.
You know, but I've gotten other feedback that people would find that a little bit. First of all, you know, it adds time to their day. It adds
Yeah,
time
it
to their
doesn't-
travel, and
I'm talking
And it
about
pushes the cars
fall.
somewhere.
and it pushes the cars to
Somewhere
a different
else.
location.
So it push, yeah. So I take Division, then go up either William or something else, and then go over. And it's
Right.
it's not much time.
So that's recommendation one is Lemoyne one way, with the only right turn. So
And also, that means no turning in from Harlem as well.
right.
Correct.
Correct.
And
So
that,
that's
is
why
that
it's-
part of our motion, no turning in from Harlem as well? Or
That's all
Yes.
part of this. Yes.
Correct.
Okay.
And that's to allow. This is the ideal way to let people leave
Yeah.
River Forest. It's preventing people cutting through, possibly going from Harlem. But they can also, because we're blocking them. We'll get to another recommendation. You can block them from Bonnie Bray. So let's go through the recommendations, and then you'll see the whole. Yeah.
Just one quick. So what about? Does this at all affect parking? Are people able to park behind these barriers?
Yeah, so it'll chew up a little bit at the very east end where you see that kind of red. So the red area right off of Harlem there, that kind of weird looking shape, that is what we would envision as the physical barrier. So yes, there would be some, a spot, maybe a couple at the very east end of that block that would be removed
I don't
just to
think people
funnel
like to
traffic
park
down.
on that far out anyway.
Right. You're getting pretty close to Harlem at that point, anyways.
But Jeff, when you say the barrier, I see those.
It's temporary.
Correct.
That's the temporary barrier
Correct.
for now. Okay.
So again, that would give us some time to get some feedback as well as budget and start working with consultants and do a
Okay.
lot of that legwork.
We gotta remember that none of this is budgeted.
I know.
So it kind of came up.
Wouldn't this also be temporary until we also do the full traffic study? We don't want to inadvertently for the town fix one problem and create another. So really, until we do and I understand that there's an immediate need. So I'm not saying that like you're bleeding. We
Right.
get that. So like I know we have to do triage, but I also want to make sure that we understand how it impacts everything. So like for example, maybe we do it to push everything toward Division and Chicago, God help us, and Lake, right, and Washington, and then Lathrop, and then maybe Thatcher and Harlem. But that puts a lot of pressure on those roads too.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
And there are people that live there too.
Right.
And if we can implement this with temporary measures, and I've done some costing of the barriers that you see in this image, but I don't know if there's a substantial lead time associated with them. Everything's a little wacky right now, but I would hope that we could get these temporary measures in place prior to data collection for the village-wide study, so that if this does throw traffic elsewhere, that it would already be set up to accommodate that, or at least acquire that data accordingly.
So does that it does impact your overall village study? The question is, how would you account for that then? So if you've done this, you really got the true reading of where we started, correct?
We have a true reading of where we started prior to all this, because we got data with this report. So we have a snapshot before we did anything. If we can implement these as step 2 and then collect data to see what indirect effects this has on the rest of the village, then everything is sequenced
Jeff, why don't we
appropriately.
go ahead and finish
Sure,
the
sure, sure.
recommendations? Because all these comments really go for everything.
Right.
Right. So
Sure, Matt, if you could scroll down to number 2 there for me, please. All right, so here we go to Bonnie Brae, just south of North Avenue. You
guys
can
see
see that thick red line there. That's essentially just trying to show that we'd be blocking off the entirety of Bonnie Brae just at the south edge of the alley. So traffic would still be able to come south off of North Avenue, but then it would be stopped at the alley. So it would be forced to travel west or east down the alley, but obviously wouldn't be able to come south into down the rest of that 1500 block of Bonnie Brae. And then if you scroll down just a tiny bit, so this wasn't recommended at the commission, but obviously we'd have to put a dead end sign down at the south end of that block just to inform vehicles that heading north you can't get through there.
And this may be so when they stop right there by the alley and they could go right or left, do they go to the next street and then just continue that way, or?
that's out to Harlem.
So if they go west,
how about the
Clinton is west, and that's recommendation number 3. There's a partial cul-de-sac recommended there too, so they wouldn't be able to go south at Clinton either.
Okay.
Jeff,
Alright.
is there?
Let's go to
I'm just curious what the advantages and disadvantages are of having the barrier before the alley or after the alley.
For any traffic, if you're going to move it after the alley, what's the point of letting any traffic come down off of North Avenue?
Oh, because then they're just going to take that alley.
Right, and then they're stuck,
okay.
and then you're kind of in a turnaround position.
Yeah.
At least now there's an
Yeah.
avenue for them
I
to kind of.
I was thinking of the residents that live there to have the access to the
Right.
alley, but I guess it sort of undermines.
But keep that in mind for when we look at number 3, because that is a variation of this that might address your concern a little bit better.
I think, Jeff, how does this compare with Oak Park down North Avenue, where they cut off some of the streets? And they don't go maybe as far as the alley, but I guess
They do.
they do.
They typically do, yeah.
Okay.
And they do a lot of what
Oh,
they do a lot of what we'll see in the next one as well, where there are
Alright.
partial cul-de-sacs.
okay. All right.
But because of the volume here, I think the commission felt that a more substantial closure at Bonnie Brae, which is closer to the congestion of North and Harlem, was warranted. Did you have something you wanted to say, Commissioner Gillis?
I was going to say that basically, and then the 2 businesses up there, that's Yoke and
Cassidy. Yep. Yep.
and we considered their needs as well.
Yeah, I mean, they don't. I don't believe. So Cassidy's only entrance is off of Bonnie Brae there. and you know,
But
their deliveries coming in off of North Avenue or exiting off of North Avenue, I wouldn't anticipate that to be a problem. We don't necessarily want those delivery trucks running through town for any reason at that point. So,
Well, I think Yoke at one time had their patio in the back.
It is still.
by the alley. Yeah.
correct.
So don't
I
know
believe
if
they
that's
still
gonna-
do.
Okay.
Okay. Matt, if you can give me the next one, please.
So this is the third.
So this is Clinton, the next block to the west. So this is kind of that partial that you do see a lot in Oak Park, where southbound traffic is effectively the same as that last recommendation at Bonnie Bray. Southbound cannot come south of the alley, but here northbound vehicles can go through all the way up to North Avenue or to the alleys. So this was to kind of let, assuming village traffic in the village heading north, everybody can still get out. But southbound cannot continue through into the village beyond the alley.
Yeah, Oak Park has a lot of this.
Yeah.
Just anecdotally, and maybe the chief can answer this question, we have kind of a similar setup like this on the western side of town when you get over towards Forest and so you can exit out. Do we see many violations of people trying to skirt that and kind of weasel their way in?
You mean like I'm quick?
Yeah, no, you're talking Forest. That's a pork chop. You'll see it. It is. Forest is.
Pork chop is two. It's a right in, right out.
Oh.
Go to the butcher.
Well, I don't know, whatever you call it.
It's a right out only off of Forest. So you can't make a left-hand turn. You can't turn into it. But do we see people trying to do that?
Oh.
We do not see
know what you're saying.
those violating at North and Forest.
Yeah.
What we do see is more the signs that are up at Franklin and Park that are no right-hand turn, no left-hand turn. Without the physical barrier there, the engineering applied, those are ignored daily, all day, every day.
All right.
Okay.
And this is, yeah.
All right, Matt, if you give me number 4 there, please. So here we get into some stop sign changes that were recommended as part of the KLOA study. So you can see, and sorry, there's a lot going on here. Starting up at that northwest corner where you've got the green and the red. That's William and Lemoyne. So that's an existing two-way stop. It's being proposed as an all-way stop. And then alternatingly to the east there at Lemoyne and Clinton, to not have everybody stopping every single block, which is something we do hear a lot about at the Traffic and Safety Commission. The recommendation was to remove the east-west stop signs at Lemoyne and Clinton to allow that to be a 2-block span. And then as you head south from that intersection to Clinton and Greenfield, because traffic volumes and speed east and west along Greenfield was a concern, the other recommendation was to make that a kind of a 3-way and all-way stop so that eastbound, westbound traffic on Greenfield is also stopping at Clinton. So that kind of reverts that stretch back to a 2-block spans as well. All right. If you give me that last one, Matt, please. Number 5 here requires no motions. This was just one of their other recommendations, which was to add a striped crosswalk with associated signage at the intersection of Greenfield and Bonnie Bray. To the south there, that's the entrance to the baseball field.
Mm-hmm.
But when there are events going on there, obviously there's a lot of pedestrian traffic at this intersection. So the idea was to just make that a little bit safer for those pedestrians. So that's this last one. Again, no actual official recommendations or motions needed on that. That's just seeking consensus from the board.
Yeah. So no stop signs there, right?
No, there are no stop signs there, and there are none recommended there.
Okay.
Hey Jeff, is there like is there an issue? Like how big an issue is there when there are events? And do we need to? And I don't want to second guess, traffic and safety or anything, because we have volunteers that work really, really hard to study this, and they know more than me for sure. But is there a reason why if there are events, we wouldn't put in something like at Lake Street with the blinking? And so, across from Keystone?
We certainly could. This is a local route. If the board wants to kind of increase this recommendation to the flashing stop sign or the flashing crosswalk sign, we certainly could here.
Yeah. Yeah. About the flashing.
Is this something you'd add later?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
See if this works.
Yeah.
Upgrade it.
Right. Yeah. The good news is we own this road, so we can do it when we want to. Some roads we don't own, and it's just like it's almost misery.
Yeah.
Okay, so those are the 5 recommendations that the commission that we have before us. So, no, 5. Well,
Okay.
Sorry, yeah,
crosswalk
4
is
plus
the,
that last
the
one.
5th one. That doesn't need a
Yeah, just consensus. No formal.
doesn't need a motion.
Okay.
So.
Sorry, can we go back to recommendation 4? Is there a way to look at why the KLOA or whatever did not recommend a 4-way stop at William and Greenfield?
That's a great question. I'm gonna let Jeff. I'm gonna guess because you moved the stop sign here, so you.
So I know speed and volumes along Greenfield were certainly considered by KLOA. Again, one of the things that the commission hears a lot is since the improvements associated with the safe walking routes to school went in, which included a lot of stop signs village-wide, there were a lot of concerns about people having to stop too much. And so one of the measures that the commission has tried to hold is not having people stop at every block, but 2 block spans being considered an appropriate amount of distance before forcing another stop. So with Greenfield being the long span that it was without any stops, the ideal location for implementing a new stop was where it is shown at Clinton, because that provides 2 blocks over to Harlem and then 2 blocks west over to Monroe. Thank you. So that was why they selected that location. Again, we could put stop signs at every intersection along the way here if that's what the board elects to do. This was just the group trying to meet that standard that they typically do.
Because if you put in recommendation 1, which blocks traffic coming off of Harlem onto Lemoyne, they're just going to go down to Greenfield, which is a busy street for kids walking to school and or playing after school. So you're creating what's
They're gonna
already
come
an
this
issue.
way, right?
Yep.
Well, you can
No,
block
she
it.
did by
Reco
Harlem.
1
On
blocks
Greenfield.
people coming into
They're
Lemoyne.
saying they're going to come that way.
So then
Come
they're
this
gonna come
way.
down
Yes.
If they're going to come out Greenfield, and now you've got all of us here basically saying we don't want all that traffic to kill our children when they're playing or walking to school. But that's exactly what's going to happen. People trying to skirt around.
Kathy, he's saying that since we'll block off Lemoyne
People crossing
from going in
Well,
from
where are they
Harlem.
coming from?
Oh,
Off. Where are they coming from? In your
He's
mind?
saying, I think, northbound off of Harlem, turning left onto Greenfield.
Your Reco 1.
This is-
Oh yeah. So going
So they're gonna
going
come this
south.
way.
Go there.
Yeah.
So I'd rather you have more stop signs along that path if you're going to push them from Lemoyne to Greenfield.
Or what Rob said, you do the same half blockage that you're doing Lemoyne.
Or do both, yeah.
They're gonna come on Greenfield from every direction once you block off Lemoyne. And Williams is the entrance, is the path to the park.
Right.
And children cross there, pedestrians cross there. This, at once every 2 blocks for the stop sign. Put them where they're needed.
I get a yelling argument at least once a week with some asshole driving 50 miles an hour.
Fair enough, but fair enough. I think I don't. Here, we could put stop sign at every street. That we could do that today. But the problem is, we just heard everyone rolls through the stop sign. So and we can't have a cop on every stop sign, and we can't have a camera because that's not allowed. So how do you slow down traffic? You could put speed bumps up. We talked about that.
One of the other,
Cutouts we've talked
one
about.
of the supplementary recommendations at that second meeting that KLOA made was to look at putting curb bump outs at these intersections along Greenfield as a means to kind of slowing down traffic as it approaches those intersections.
Yeah, and that could try to eliminate what Bob showed us, and that's the person going around.
Yeah, and I think that this is specifically the conversation that wasn't fully vetted at the Traffic and Safety Commission. We received comments from neighbors saying absolutely, what this discussion is right now. And also, I mean, if we're not fully cutting off North Avenue ways to Lemoyne and Greenfield, traffic will just go down those two streets if both of Harlem, at Harlem, Greenfield, and Lemoyne aren't blocked off completely.
They are. Lemoyne, I would say Lemoyne and Bonnie Bray are cut off completely.
Not to through traffic, though.
Not to Harlem.
Right.
See, this is where we have to be careful.
Yeah.
Okay. And so I'm not disagreeing with anything you're saying, but now we've cut off all the streets. And so now all the traffic in the village will come down Harlem, Lathrop, and Thatcher. And we have residents that live on Harlem, Lathrop, and Thatcher. So that's why the comprehensive study is very important to do. So I think that's why going in today with a temporary measure, modified if we need to with a couple additional stop signs, we got to go a little bit slower and give Jeff and his team a chance to get this comprehensive study done.
If you count the houses in that area, the only solution to this, and I think I've talked to Jesse, but I'm sorry to look at this and look at this and look at this. The only solution, the real solution, is to complete cut off the Greenfield and Harlem. I know a lot of people don't like it, but there's 420 parking spaces in the area between Harlem and Clinton. After that, nobody goes 1 inch, centimeter, millimeter out of their way to get to Harlem or north.
My question is can the roadways handle it? So that's why we're doing a comprehensive study. So I understand the point you're making. So I totally do.
We're not talking about, if this was river forest traffic, I don't think we'd be here. This is Chicago.
I understand that.
And they're coming through.
Completely understand.
So, Bob,
I completely
hang on.
understand.
Okay, so we get it. So I think let's talk about that for a minute because it's worth having a conversation. If you block off Greenfield, you've got all the Fenwick people that are going to come through our town, which is because to park at Fenwick, because this is a parking lot here for the baseball field and the football field. Now they leave, they're going to go this way because they can't get out. You got to remember that. And so they're going to go down William, guys. They're going to go that way, and they're going to go that way.
They're also going to come around.
Yeah, and then they're going to come around because they can't come in. And when Fenwick has a baseball game, which we all know they have quite a bit, that traffic is a lot.
Could you do the same half?
Huh?
The same half that you're doing on Lemoyne?
Yeah. I call it the pork chop. Bob says no. Okay, that's fine.
What's the other side of the pork
What
chop?
is it? Whatever it is. Diverter.
Diverted.
Yeah, I think that could
Fenwick's also
work.
going to have division soon.
But I know
Entry to these sporting
people on
goods.
Greenfield. How does that affect you guys coming in?
Yeah, I think
my God.
you have to. Well, when I'm looking at the stop sign at
Right.
Clinton, what I think about.
Hang on, let Ken finish.
Come on, Lisa. I think about the time it takes to get up to speed. So, when you're coming down Harlem, I don't think even if you accelerate, you don't accelerate till you hit William, and that's when it really gets crazy, I think. So by putting a stop sign at Clinton, I'm not sure it's accomplishing the goal because he's right. I mean, that is a major school.
So the
thoroughfare.
alternative then, Ken, would be to put a stop sign here too. So
Yeah.
stop.
Well,
Right.
if you block like Lemoyne, if you block like you do Lemoyne at Greenfield, the half guy,
Yep.
and you remove the stop sign at Clinton and put it on William, you're avoiding traffic coming in, cutting through. People can still get out, and
I like
the
that.
traffic that's coming in from the fields is going to have to stop after a block of driving.
Yeah. So what you're saying is, if they're gonna go this way, they're gonna go this way. Stop, come down, go out.
Or they can get out.
Or they're gonna
to
go
the-
this way and go on North
Or
Avenue.
they can go to.
East and turn south.
They can, yes, turn south on a.
Turn south, they just can't turn north on Harlem.
Why can't they park on the property they bought?
That is their property.
Not Greenfield.
No, they park in their parking lot.
I think he's talking about.
Oh, along this way?
The new Dominican.
No, off of
the old
Division.
Dominican
Right, they have
property.
a huge amount of parking over there.
I'm sure they're gonna use it. I don't know.
Can I make a comment? Sorry.
Yeah.
Kind of feels like we're playing a game of whack-a-mole. Every time you close something down, you push it to somewhere else until there's obviously some point of diminishing returns where people give up. I'm not convinced on these baseball games. That's 15 instances a year. You guys were dealing with this stuff Monday through Friday, 50 weeks a year. And it helps with property values to decrease the traffic from outside residents. I think we should do everything and anything.
So,
Thank you.
yeah, me too. So that's what we're trying to get to, right?
Okay.
You could block this off, but again, it's just gonna push the traffic right now. And that's what we're trying to say is let's try it out.
You have to see,
Hmm?
Des Moines and Greenfield the same. You have to do the same treatment, or one's gonna attract traffic from the
And I
other.
agree with that, Bob. The same traffic, right?
Right. So if you-
Not cut it off,
if
I
you
think.
have pork chop in, fine.
I like the pork chop.
But eventually you'll come to see it finally.
You might be right, you know, and and you probably will be right, but
These guys on Williams is gonna help them out too.
I know, I live on William. I'm your neighbor. Gary, why not? We're
Just the Fenwick traffic is really tied to very specific events, whereas the strategy here is really a every hour of the day strategy, I think that only having a right turn south onto Harlem from Greenfield would certainly, I think, would add
agree.
safety and would reduce the amount of traffic.
No, I believe that's correct, and it gives the Fenwick, in those small amount of times, a chance to get out. And believe me, they park along Division Street, so and they move up to Greenfield and they move out, right? So they're parking here near the Priory Park, Fenwick kids playing football, and then they go out that way.
Will there be, do we know if, maybe the Traffic and Safety Commission knows, but will there be, because they've now bought the additional land, further ways for them to get off of Division?
I think it's, if they use that parking lot, I'm gonna guess it's gonna be off Division.
Because that makes an impact too, then.
I mean, the baseball field's pretty far away from that parking spot. So I think that would be, I mean, it sounds like maybe that might be the additional recommendation we give is that, well, two things maybe. Take what Ken said is move, maybe it was you guys, move this to here and then just make a only right-hand turn at Greenfield.
Move it or add an additional stop sign on
I
Greenfield.
think we said move it.
Well, if you have the only one way or the
Yeah.
right-hand turn only, then you can move that stop
Then you
sign
can
on
move it.
Clinton down to William
Okay.
and not have it in
Yeah.
one block like you mentioned, but also reduce the traffic coming in from Lemoyne and Greenfield.
Right, agreed. Because this is all the traffic, it's just gonna be River Force traffic coming through.
Because then if you're on
Yeah.
Bonnie Brae or Clinton, you're basically getting no outside traffic.
Right.
And if you're west of those streets, you're getting less of Harlem and
Yeah.
Chicago traffic coming into your town.
I agree. I think it's a good idea.
Would that last block of Greenleaf before Harlem then become one way, the same way Lemoyne
Right,
is?
so same as recommendation number, not one way though. It would,
Well, it's one way.
Yeah, it would be.
well, it would have
Lemoyne.
to be one way because you can't
Right,
come in.
right.
So yes,
So it would be the same exact thing
same
as Lemoyne.
exact one, yes.
So it would be one way that block.
From the
One way
alley
like the
to
first-
Harlem. Not that whole block, just the alley to
think that's
Harlem.
a good-
The east half of that block. It's,
That's a
again,
good
same as Lemoyne.
compromise and it's a good way to,
For now.
can't leave it.
Well, I
for
was
now.
gonna
Keep
say,
in mind,
I-
all you're doing is pushing it elsewhere.
No,
I-
I don't know. I think we're,
Until we do the full
Yeah.
study,
Yeah.
we will not understand how it's
but Lisa,
truly
we're
needed.
doing the full study.
oh no,
Yeah,
I know,
I know,
but I
but
think
it's
I think what she's saying and that is that we're doing this just to test it out and see how the traffic but not only from that, but we got to look at everything else beyond, because I do think that it is going to cost. It's like our parking permits. Remember, we did on one block and then it went on to the next block and two more blocks.
COVID hit and
Yeah.
nobody's got a problem.
Yeah.
And those residents are stuck with 2-hour parking now.
I shouldn't have
Now they're
reminded
gonna
people,
take
but
it out.
but you're right. But
We can
I
take
think
that out. We haven't tried.
no, and I say I like the fact that it's temporary, and I'm not saying we're going to stop it for
It's
sure.
temp to perm.
I'm saying let's try it out to see how it looks. But I do think when we're looking at it, it's not just this corner of River Forest. We're gonna look to see how it impacts
Absolutely.
the rest of River Forest because
Yeah,
I do think
being-
and GPS. Hey, when I have GPS and they do something in the street or whatever, GPS just reroutes me somewhere else in the village, just to get around. So I think this may be a good thing for now, but I don't know if how it's gonna affect River Forest, the rest of it. So I agree with Bob, and well, I think we all agree. We're still gonna look at it comprehensively.
Yeah, right.
But
That study's going
okay.
on.
Yeah.
Yes. Equal time for you.
Right.
Just on that note, I just one
Yeah.
unresolved concern is what this will do for southbound William Street traffic coming off North Avenue. We'll have Clinton and Bonnie Bright blocked to southbound traffic, and William Street is already the traffic at north of Harlem is always backed up past William Street. So people will still take a right hand turn on William Street. They'll be able to get to the right hand off of Lemoyne and Greenfield, but people speed down William Street every day, 3 small children. Just
Totally agree with you. Here's the issue that we
Right.
just talked about, right? So it's pushing it. So you
Right.
close William, it goes to Monroe.
so all those 2 streets, Clinton and Bonnie Gray, all that traffic is now going to go to William Street. So I just wanted.
Well, we don't know, and that's why we want to make
Yeah.
it temporary. So we look at how the traffic flows
Yeah.
work. So I'm with you. I live right by you guys.
Yeah.
So, but I could tell you, we don't. I mean, we could say that. Okay, block off William, then Monroe folks will be here tomorrow. Say, well,
Yeah.
block off Monroe,
Yeah.
and then block off Jackson,
And they have
so it
kids
goes
too.
on. And we agree, it
kids,
should
yeah.
all be
Right.
looked at, and that's what the comprehensive plan will look at. So meanwhile, though, I want to make sure you're clear. That's why we want to try to slow traffic down if it's going to be increased
Okay.
for you.
Yeah, appreciate the extra stop sign.
Okay.
But
Okay, so anyway, I think to kind of bring it all together here, in addition to the motion that's on the table, it sounds like we could all, we might agree, we consensus here, that move these 2 stop signs over to William
Okay.
and then use the only right-hand turn on Greenfield.
So William,
Diverted.
4-way stop.
Yeah, you just because this is now going to be one way
And
out.
Yeah, diverted.
And so there's no traffic going
like your
down.
word.
Well, there will be coming from Bonnie
Yeah,
Brae,
diverted.
coming from
Yeah.
Clinton, so they
Yes,
stop.
right here, diverted.
It's like
Right.
in my brain.
I think that's
Lisa,
great.
did you want to say
No, I was just gonna say, like again, like this whole thing of whack-a-mole, great word. Like I want to make sure that we also basically give, and I'm gonna like kind of, in full disclosure, my husband's on the Traffic and Safety Commission. I know a lot about this actually. Because of that, we've had a lot of conversations. My understanding was that they did not finish conversations about Greenfield and William, and we should finish those conversations. But then to your point, if the next time it's going to be Monroe, the next time it's going to be whatever, we have volunteers that are working really hard to make this work, and I want to make sure those volunteers don't get discouraged if every time, and I'm not saying anybody here in this room is doing this, a resident doesn't get their way, they can, kind of say, well, I'm going to go to mom and they're going to give me what I want. Like, I just want to make sure that we're like following the process and allowing for that enough time for that process to happen. And if that means we're not ready to put something in front of the board and we need to have another conversation to really talk about it, we should do that.
How long is that the comprehensive study
Oh,
going to take?
it will be next year. I mean,
And,
we haven't even
yeah,
budgeted.
I don't even mean the comprehensive study. I think that we could have benefited from another Traffic and Safety Commission meeting before this was put here.
The other part of it is we have no budgeted funds to do
Okay,
this.
yeah. No,
I wanna-
that was
I wanna
we
clarify.
do. I made a mistake. We have budgeted. We are gonna
To do
For the study.
comprehensive- Yeah, let me.
Can
okay,
I finish what I was
go
going to
ahead.
say? We have money to do the comprehensive study. We don't have money to implement all of the things that
That's
are going to
correct.
come out of that study. That
Right.
was what I was
Yeah,
just going to
because
say.
it's always going to go through the traffic and safety.
Exactly.
Right.
It's not going to be something we do, overnight. I agree. But yes, we're actually going to have the comprehensive study come to the board
Hopefully next meeting.
next meeting. We're going to pick the vendor that will do the plan.
Okay.
So
Can I add just one thing here, Kathy?
Yeah,
So,
Jim.
I lived at Park and Division for almost 8 years. And let me tell you the cost of inaction. Year after year, that street has become, it's borderline dangerous to live on that street. And I recognize where you're coming and saying, let's just calm down and let's keep talking about it. But we have to start. If we are 35 years behind, we gotta move. We gotta get that one way figured out on Greenfield. I love that play. Get that stop sign on William. That gives William a little bit of relief, and it also really takes care of the northeast corner here. So I live on William now for just 2 months, and my biggest fear is that this gets caught in this cycle of analyzing, and we don't make a move. And I just want to lend my voice of support here. I think you're doing the right thing.
Okay, thanks. All right, so, yeah, sorry. So, Bobby, I didn't mean to interrupt that. But, yeah, I just want to make sure we're clear. We are going to move forward on the comprehensive plan. But it's going to be a bigger study, and it's going to be in pieces as we implement them, as you mentioned. So, you know, that's all important. But, yeah, I think we move forward, too, with those changes. But, I mean, it's not at all. I think, by the way, the traffic they spent enormous amount of time and energy on just these. That just tells you how much time it takes to get stuff done, so that you know we do pay attention to the residents.
So, Kathy, do we need to amend one of these motions?
Yeah, there's
to
two.
add the diverter.
Do we add it or amend it?
Yeah, there's one to amend and one to add.
Okay.
So I'll read the one to amend and the one to add.
Okay.
Great. And Greg will correct me if we went over it together, but I'm sure we have it here. So motion 4 is the one that gets amended. Motion to approve an ordinance to convert the two-way stop at the intersection of William Street and Lemoyne Street and the two-way stop at William and Greenfield Street to all-way stop intersections and modify the all-way stop at Clinton Place, Lemoyne Street, such that only the north-south legs of the intersection are required to stop.
Okay.
I accept the amendment.
Okay. Who's second?
Who's second?
Trustee Buckner.
Buckner?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, the new motion that gets added to the omnibus motion is a motion to approve ordinances restricting traffic on Greenfield Street to one-way eastbound between the alley and Harlem Avenue to install a right-out only curb diverter and install all accompanying signage as proposed.
Moved. So moved.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Is the word temporary, is that important to this or not?
I would think so.
Well, all of them are the
Why would you think it?
same time structure.
I don't want somebody coming back and saying you agree to do this on a permanent basis, and we're not agreeing to do it on a permanent basis.
Yeah, no, we are not.
Yeah.
It's on a temporary basis.
Well, the recommendation in the packet says numbers 1, 2, and 3 are on a temporary basis. It doesn't say that the fourth motion.
Well, that's because those are stop signs.
Right.
Yeah,
So
I
just to
don't-
clarify.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the new one on Greenfield would be on a temporary
Correct.
basis.
Correct.
Okay.
But, yeah, right, the crosswalk and the stop signs will be.
Right. That would be it under the fourth, what was the fourth motion? I think it still is, but that's not temporary. That's permanent.
Correct.
And good news, we can always take them out. If we have to. I guess everything's.
I think that we'll get some good information out of this, and we can implement it quickly and relatively inexpensively, which should help the residents.
Yep. Yeah, I think we need something. So I really applaud the Traffic and Safety Commission coming up with these recommendations. So, okay, is there any further discussion by the group here? Then I'd ask the clerk to take the vote.
Trustee Vasquez.
Yes.
Trustee Gillis.
Yes.
Trustee Bachner.
Yes.
Trustee O'Connell.
Yes.
Trustee Johnson.
Yes.
Trustee Brennan.
Yes.
Great. Okay, so now we're moving on to 9A, which is the approval of the contract of Nova Collective. If I can get a motion and a second for that approval.
Motion to enter, Motion to approve a contract with Nova Collective LLC for $50,000 and authorize the village administrator to execute the contract.
Second.
Very good. Do you guys want to talk about it, or is there anything we should talk about?
Happy to give a quick summary just
Okay.
for posterity's sake. In April of 2021, the village board and village president created ad hoc advisory group by resolution. One of the responsibilities of that advisory group was to assist in the development of an RFP so that a consultant could be hired to take a look at the organizational impact, the organizational effect of the village. In July of 2022, the RFP was issued. 16 proposals were received internationally, I might add. We had firms from Canada and all across the United States propose and make proposals. The three co-chairs, myself, Trustees Johnson and Trustee Bachner, interviewed 7 of those firms. After interviewing those 7 firms, it was very clear that Nova Collective was the preferred vendor to be able to provide these services. Nova was then presented to the DEI advisory group in September, and for those that were in attendance, we did not have a quorum at that meeting, but for those that were in attendance, there was overall positive support for moving forward with Nova Collective. Contract has been been negotiated after to make sure we hit on all of the strategic operating objectives that were outlined in the RFP, and that's what's before the board tonight.
Okay, great. Super.
So I reached out to Brian this afternoon and I asked for some information on the company, and so I got the information on the company. The one thing that was not in there that I thought felt short, and maybe you guys can add some texture to it, is who else have they done work with? I mean, it talked about their resumes, and the resumes were very impressive, but who else have they done work with that we might reach out to and understand better the work they've done and the quality of the work, and and maybe you guys have done that legwork, so I'd be interested to hear that.
So the very locally, they did work with the Oak Park River Forest Community Foundation and the Thriving Communities initiative that they have going on with that organization. So actually, quite a lot of the base data that we would already need has been acquired by them, and they are currently presenting the results of the Thriving Communities report card across the area. They had a meeting that was scheduled in September, but I'm going to look to Erica because it had to be rescheduled.
Yeah, it had to be. They have, based off of this quite critical report that they did for the Oak Park River Forest Community Foundation, who is looking, I mean, Kathy could talk to it, but who is looking to understand how they can better do philanthropy in the western suburbs, put together a report around where is the most need and what our western suburbs look like today based on many different metrics. And it is information that from what I understand, the Oak Park Community Foundation is sharing freely with all municipalities and people and nonprofits so that they can use it to help themselves as well. It was an important study, and I do think that we are lucky to have Nova Collective as a bidder here. And besides that, they are in the Oak Park River Forest area. They know the area well. Besides that, they work with, I want to say, 5 blue chip companies across the nation, and municipalities and nonprofits. They have a deep bench of consultants and people that they know around numerous areas and topics and issues, so that if something were to come up in River Forest that we just had gaps of information in, they could bring in, and they have said that they will bring in somebody to help us with that if for some reason they don't have knowledge on that. I would say we are very fortunate to get them.
So if you had to say what differentiated them from the others, and what did you not like about them that the others may have had?
I think that I don't know if you want to go
Sure.
ahead.
I think one of the things that I will say not necessarily differentiated, but their experience in the area was bar none better than anyone else. Obviously, like Brian mentioned, we've had proposals from all over the country, and some of the questions and answers we received didn't necessarily relate to River Forest, and in working with the committee, their main concern was making sure that if we hire someone, they would be Rivers Forest specific. And so, with that in mind and making sure, some of the factors that we did look at was how deep was your bench? Are you a one-person shop or mom and pop shop? Or have you done this before? Have you worked with municipalities before? So those were a lot of the critical questions that we asked amongst all of the candidates. And Nova stood out far and beyond the best. And then we put them in front of the committee, which is sometimes not easy, but we did in front of the committee, and the committee liked them just as much as well. And actually, we have a committee member here as well. And so, some of the things that differentiated them were their experience in the area, their experience with municipalities, their ability to basically provide us information that we know we're going to need, they already have, versus need to spend money researching it. So obviously cost was also a factor, and that helped us to get there quicker.
The last thing I would add to it is their track record in doing internal organizational assessments was very important. When we were taking a look at what we wanted to make sure we accomplished, it really has to do with proving and showing where we can improve as an organization internally toward our employees and toward our vendors. Their empirical approach toward how they are handling that through the surveys that they intend on doing, the outreach that they plan on doing, and the like with the employees was very comprehensive and rather robust and complete.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Yeah, and just Eric has mentioned, the Community Foundation hired them, and the work product was superb.
Which we can get you a copy of too. I'd like to, because it's a big.
Yeah, everyone should have a copy.
Yeah,
Everyone should read
I'm
this
surprised
report.
we don't. So we should do that, Brian. Yeah,
make sure
just
we get hard copies.
yeah, Elizabeth and the Community Foundation can provide it.
Then they're doing their community outreach. We'll let you know what those are.
Okay.
Can I just want, this is more of a comment than anything, in the future, when we are looking at contracts, is there a way to get a summary of like criteria used to select a vendor, and and maybe a brief overview of, kind of the reason why, other than.
Yeah, I'll send you out an RFP.
Just in general. I'm not saying for this particular thing, just on a going forward basis. It just might be helpful for the trustees to have just more information on the criteria used to select the vendor. And I don't know if there's even a short scorecard that can be done, or something that just gives us a little bit more than, we like them.
Yeah,
That's all.
Absolutely, Lisa. I mean, in fact, you do that for most.
We do
if
that.
Not all, hopefully.
Yeah, we do that quite a bit. We tend to keep those as internal work product for a variety of reasons, but we actually have been working with Greg's office. There are some new requirements with regard to DEI disclosure that we're already implementing and doing. So I think there are some additional details that, as we're presenting our reports, we can provide more information.
Trustee Gillis is saying is to, when we do a major contract of, I would say at some level, you just want like a summary page.
Yeah.
Of what was in the RFP and how these vendors met it.
And the matrix of how we're going to score.
And all of the contracts that Jeff brings forward, and he has something, they always have some reference to other municipalities that a vendor has done work in. That was kind of what I was looking for when I reached out to Brian today is, again, not knowing who these people are, I got the company kind of background and bio on it, and so to know who they worked with, and again, I appreciate everything you do on this, and your insight onto what differentiated them really helps a lot. So thank you.
Yep.
I think we should be clear though, when not with regard to this contract, but for that information, it has to be standardized. If you're going to be universal, then you have to do it for all the contracts. Right. And so,
but that's what
not
she's
be careful
saying.
what you ask for.
That's what she's saying.
I know. What I'm saying is not to be careful what you ask for, but
yeah,
let's be clear. Is there a number? Is it for a $10,000 contract you want this? So I'm just saying we should have our parameters in play. I'm not talking about this specific contract. I'm just saying in general.
Agreed.
Yeah, so which is a great. So what happens typically? The process is we have a budget, then we ask the staff to send out an RFP and on criteria that was chosen by hopefully staff or committee, and then they send it out. We get, whatever responses we get, and that's based on criteria. And of course, did they meet or under the, as a responsible bidder, come within the budget item? And if they didn't, then there's a way that I think you guys come back to us and say, here, this is a better play, a little bit more money, but a better.
So who you're saying that the criteria is developed by whoever
By the
developed
staff.
the criteria?
Yeah.
And then
in
now,
your case, the criteria was somewhat developed by the staff,
Right.
and then your
yeah,
committee.
but I'm saying, are we saying going forward, now I need to see the criteria that he developed before I make a decision?
I
That's what I'm
said do
saying.
a summary. I don't. If you do, then you.
I'm like saying, okay, there were 5 things. It was price. It was like, work with the municipalities, Fortune 100 companies, whatever. Like,
Yeah.
the 5
Yeah,
things,
no.
Plus, minus. It doesn't have to be.
Right.
I don't.
No, I
think-
hear. I'm
Yes.
just applying it to snow removal. I mean, you can.
Right.
That's my
Brian,
point.
it sounds like
exactly.
you're already
And-
working on that with
Ken
Greg.
is absolutely right. You
We already have a lot of that in place, and there was within this RFP there were criteria for scoring. So
Of course.
yeah.
Right.
So we'll figure out a summary page.
Because Brian has the authority to sign. I mean, he comes to the board with it like $10,000, right?
20.
So I mean, I think what you're looking for is maybe there's a benchmark of anything he can't sign or 20% above or whatever. But I mean, just to have some kind of criteria.
Right.
Well, and just so you know, there is a criteria. I think what
Right.
you're asking for is to
Right.
to summarize it, or
Right.
we can give you the RFP. You guys can look at the RFP, and then we can. No, right. To summarize it in a kind of inside that packet when we present a contract.
Right.
Here's the
Correct.
criteria that we used in the RFP, and how their scoring went.
Absolutely.
I know exactly what you're talking
Yep.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
yeah, we have to do that regardless, but to summarize it, I think is a good idea.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay.
Any other further questions or comments? Hearing none.
No. Big
Trustee
vote.
Gillis.
Yes.
Trustee Bachner.
Yes.
Trustee O'Connell.
Yes.
Trustee Johnson.
Yes.
Put that in the
Trustee
notes.
Brennan.
You want to hear the criteria
Trustee
first?
Yeah,
Vasquez.
yeah.
Trustee Vasquez.
Yes, of course.
Okay,
Okay.
great. Well,
Okay.
good luck. We're excited to hear some of the
Yeah.
results from their work. Okay, so I think
All
that
right.
I want to just say I do want to thank the DEI advisory group and specifically the subcommittee, the RFP committee, Stacy Austin, who's here tonight, who was integral to writing the RFP, and
Thank you.
yeah, the work is just
yeah,
beyond.
superb.
So very good. Thank you. Thank you to the committee.
Okay.
Yep. Okay.
All
Very
right.
good. All right. So that ends our open meeting where we'll go into an executive
Okay.
session.
So I move to enter into executive session pursuant to 5 ILSC 120/2C1 to discuss the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of the village, and under 5 ALC S 120/2C6 to discuss the setting of a price for sale or lease of property owned by the village. And the village board meeting will adjourn after executive session and will not return to open session.
Second.
Do you need water?
Rez, you've been flowing through this tonight.
Alrighty.
That never has happened. to me.
Yeah. No worries.
We need to vote on the motion.
Yes.
Trustee Johnson.
Yes.
Trustee Brennan.
Yes.
Trustee Vasquez.
Yes.
Trustee Gillis.
Yes.
Trustee Bachner.
Yes.
Trustee O'Connell.
Yes.
Okay, so we'll just take a 2-minute break. Okay, 4 minutes. But Brian needs to go get some paperwork.
Rez, I appreciate you pushing through that. That was
I didn't give up. I kept going.